Hello YouTube, it's your boy Nathan coming to you to do another recap video. Today we are talking 90 Day to Last Resort Season 2, Episode 19, Tell All Part 2. So we're just getting in onto it. As we know, Part 1 of the Tell All was one for the ages, between what happened with Rob and Jasmine and everything. But in this Tell All wasn't as crazy as Part 1. We picked up where we left off last week with Brandon and Julia's segment. And the question was, Julia, when Julia was back in Russia, what did she do to Brandon? Basically, I mean, what did she do with the guy with her ex that Brandon doesn't know about? Now, if you remember throughout the season, Julia revealed that she was, like, when she was still in Russia, like in the middle of the K1 process, her and Brandon got into a fight, and she claims that Brandon feels like it was a little fight, but she thinks that they were done. So she reached out to other guys and her ex, and she revealed that she was kissing them basically, and that was all she did. And that happened like during the process, during the filing process basically. Brandon, this is kind of like Brandon's first time really hearing about a second guy that she was kissing, so he's like still dumbfounded about it and everything. They still had his parents on there, Ron and Betty. And like Ron actually said it best, and Julia feels like they never have her side of things, but this time they did. Ron said that, that was a mistake Julia made, but it was in the past and it should be let go now. And I agree. She made a mistake and she should let go. Now, I do think that Julia should like calm down a little bit and stop being such a party wild child and everything. She always feels like, oh, we have one life and everything, live life to the fullest basically and all that. And I agree, but when you're married and you're now in your 30s, you do need to calm down a little bit. So she apologized to Brandon. She went over to give Brandon a hug. He wouldn't stand up. She made him stand up and everything, give him a hug. And Brandon's just like, I need time to process all of this and everything. And she was like, are you going to hold this for the rest of my life? And he was like, no, but just give me time to process it. Everybody was like, yeah, just give him some time. Just give him some time, basically. So yeah, that was Brandon and Julia. After that, they talked to a little bit with Rob and Sophie. So Rob and Sophie, they revealed last week that, they, after not recommitting at the ceremony, they were separated for a while. Then they got together to get their groove on. They revealed in this episode that they went on a trip to Disney and they had a really good time there. And like after the Disney trip, they started really like basically getting their groove on again more and more. But then like the feelings, Sophie said that the feelings were starting to come back, and she felt like that her and Rob did so well at Disney that like basically was giving him some mixed signals basically and everything, because they weren't fighting and stuff. And she just feels like they still need to be like separated basically. So after the Disney trip, they got their groove on for a little bit, and then they stopped. And then something was revealed during behind the scenes of Between the Sheets that Sophie had like some kind of sugar daddy and everything. I guess like Jasmine had told Julia that like somebody told her that she had like a sugar baby or sugar daddy or whatever. So they asked her who it was, and she was like, and Sophie was like, oh, yes, I have a 93-year-old sugar daddy. And everybody was just like, wait, what? Ooh, what? Is that a joke? And she's like, yes, it's a joke, basically, and everything. So now him and Jasmine had another little go at it. And Rob was like, the only time that she probably could have got that from is when at the beginning of the resort, I went up to Jasmine when she was feeling vulnerable to comfort her. And she asked me, like, why aren't you and Sophie living together? And he was like, I don't know. And she said, is she seeing someone else? Is she getting money from someone else? He's like, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And everything. And, Jasper's like, did I ruin your marriage? Did I ruin your marriage? I'm so sorry. Like, being sarcastic with it and everything. So, like, they shut that down really quick because it was about to be another confrontation. And then they took a break. During the break, Julia put on that little mask, that little sex mask, whatever, that they had to do in sex therapy or whatever, just to play with Brayden a little bit and everything. That was whatever. And then they came back out. Also, Rob had said that, they asked Rob, like, after him and Sophie fully split, how long has it been since he started seeing someone else? And he said it's been a while. Sophie went right away. Sophie actually, and this is funny, Sophie had mentioned that she saw, Sophie's bisexual. So she saw a guy and a girl during their split. And she said that the guy that she saw, that she was seeing, had a kid. And she said that the girl that she's seen had a kid. Well, not knowing this, ironically, the kid's mom and dad were the guy and the girl that Sophie was seeing. I just started dying. That is crazy. That is so ironic. And Rob was seeing another British girl, and everybody was just like, well, Rob, do you have a type and everything? And like Sophie got a little jealous, saying, hey, he's seen another British girl? Dang, like, is she not like, does she have a better accent than me or whatever? And then they took a break and decided to come back with them later. Now they moved on to Stacy and Florian. Now, Stacy and Florian, unpopular opinion, I am not a fan of Florian. All the girls and whatever he be hanging out with, all the other 90-day girls and other content creators, they love Florian. They love him. I don't see the appeal. I don't see it. Florian ain't nothing but an angry, like, defensive, like, guy who and he lazy, basically. He only wants to party, drink, and get mad all the time and everything. And he doesn't know how to really be a husband to Stacy. So, like, Stacy had mentioned that she's experiencing menopause. And then they asked the guys to, like, explain menopause to Florian, like, give it a little biology lesson, basically. And, Florian had mentioned after that conversation, Florian had mentioned that that the therapy really did not help him. He said he doesn't believe in therapy. He only went because of Stacy. And Stacy was just like, well, so you feel like our relationship is all me then? Problems are all me? No. And everything. And so, like, they showed some clips throughout the season of Florian getting into it with Jasmine and everything. And, like, they talked about Florian's anger. Florian does have an anger problem. He's always, like, getting defensive and a trigger and everything. And Josh had to, and they asked, like, Stacy, you're always apologizing for Florian's actions. And she's like, yeah, it's like a mother figure type thing. And then he got defensive with that, like, mother? What do you mean, mother? And Josh actually had to tell him, like, okay, like, she means that, like, you have to tone it down a little bit. Like, you get really defensive and angry and everything. And Stacy feels like she always has to apologize. You just got to tone it down a little bit and everything. Florian just doesn't feel like he's doing anything wrong. And it's not cool. Stacy does deserve better. So they brought out Darcy and Georgie. Nice little role reversal. All the time we used to have, every time we had Darcy on the teller, we always had to bring out Stacy. Now it's the other way around. And so they brought out Darcy and Georgie, and they asked Darcy, like, because remember Darcy got to go to the resort for a little bit for some family therapy because of the apparent her texting Florian in the middle of the night and everything, and just crossing boundaries and stuff and everything. And Georgie said, like, the problems with Stacy and Florian have nothing to do with Darcy and Florian, basically. Like, I'm not there. I'm not in their home. No. Like, it's not a problem, basically, and everything. And so, like, when Darcy came out, everybody like gave her a hug and everything, blah blah blah. And when I was watching Pillow Talk, they had mentioned that there's always been like a rivalry between like Darcy and Stacey because they're twins. They had their own business. But Darcy at the time was getting more of everything. And so, like, and I agree, Darcy was like getting all the attention mostly. So I can see where the little twin rivalry becomes into a factor and some jealousy comes in. So, they talked a little bit about that. And then, like, we left on the cliffhanger of Sean asking Georgie, like, Georgie, should Stacey fully trust Florian? Is there anything that you see that you feel like Stacey shouldn't trust Florian? And Georgie said, no. He said no. Like, I don't think she should trust him fully. And we left off with that cliffhanger. So we'll pick up we'll pick this up next week, basically. So, like I said, and judging by the previews, that's just gonna be nothing. I could care less with Stacey and Florian. But like I said, I've never been a Florian fan. I'm not a fan of Florian. I never have. And and all the girls love him and are attracted to him and everything. Think he's MVP, was MVP of the season. No, he's not. He's not. He's really not. I've always said this. I feel like Florian just doesn't look, he never looks happy to be here. I feel like he should I feel like he just wants to go back to Albania, where he's from and stuff and everything. He always just has like a angry look on his face, and he always feels like he wants to hurt somebody and everything. So, and when Stacey tries to tell him something, he just like brushes off like it's not, and tells Stacey to shut up and everything. And that's not the way you treat your wife. So, I'm sorry to all the girls who love Florian and everything. Like, that's cool if you do, but I'm not a fan of him. Never been a fan of him, never will. So, yeah, so judging by the previews next week, we'll talk with Ari and Benny next week. We'll talk more with Natalie and Josh and everything. Like, I don't know how many parts are there. I don't know if there's like 4 parts, 3 parts, 5 parts, whatever, to this tell-all, but we just wrapped up number 2. So we still got to do Gina and Jasmine segment, and they still got to bring out the therapist. So it's going to be a while. So I'm going to guess there's probably 5 parts. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, yeah, that is the end of the review. Yeah, it was a quickie. It wasn't as entertaining as last week's episode, but oh yeah, during the break, I will say this: during the break, when they're on their little lunch break, we seen Jasmine call Matt and start crying like, everybody's attacking me. Rob called me a whore and everything and blah blah blah, and all that. And Matt was just like, why are they guys getting up on you? Like, they're just doing that to instigate you. Gina agreed to this open marriage and everything and whatnot. So, and then the producer had to come and say, Jasmine, time to go back on set. so yeah, Jasmine's still a mess. And I feel like, like it seems like, throughout this tell-all, and I noticed like people are picking on Jasmine. She's pregnant. I agree. Yeah, she's pregnant. So we need to cut down on the pickiness. But Jasmine is not a saint. Like, like, okay, we're happy that she's pregnant. Like, bringing a baby in here is a beautiful thing. Like, but it's just the way that she did it, and flaunting it around Gino and stuff. It's just not cool. It's not cool, and she needs to be checked by that. So yeah. Anyway, guys, again, that's the end of my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be back on next week to do 90 Day Fiance. Yeah, all my shows are like done right now. All my other shows are not in season right now besides 90 Day. So like I said before, I'm going to try to pick up some more shows to cover on this channel. And an update. In my video yesterday, I had mentioned I'm going to try to do an interview with Matt and Amani from 2/3 of the throuple on 90 Day Fiance. they did get back to me. Matt said to ask Amani. Amani said that possibly only after TLC approves. They have to ask TLC for their approval. I did mention for it to be after the season's over, after the tell-alls air and everything, you know, for that reason, because I knew that was the response I was going to get. So I was like, that's why I said after the season. So they said possibly. So in a couple months, be on the lookout for my first interview on this channel with 2/3 of the throuple, Matt and Amani. So I can't wait for that. I hope they follow through with that. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I will see you guys next week. Love you guys. Bye.